Growing up, James Joyce was always one of those periphery authors for me. I knew I was supposed to be reading his works and that I was supposed to start with Portrait of the Artist as a young man, but for whatever reason, my life felt a little too busy and a little too loud to take on the challenge. And it is a challenge. Joyce's stories are tough to fully absorb no matter where you read them. But it turns out that the busyness and the loudness of my life was actually the key, at least for me, to really appreciating Joyce's body of work. So this story is about how I came to read and to love Ulysses. In college, prior to reading the book, I had a job as an underage bartender at a literary pub. I worked the door on Friday happy hour and poured good beer on Saturdays and Thursdays. And one night, after an obnoxiously long, loud shift, I found myself in a corner, frowning and rolling silverware for the morning staff. And I paused and I looked up at this sort of haunting poster on the wall that had a portrait of James Joyce. And around the portrait were well-placed quotes from Ulysses. This is the quote that got me. The figure seated on a large boulder at the foot of a round tower was that of a broad-shouldered, deep-chested, strong-limbed, frank-eyed, red-haired, freely freckled, shaggy-bearded, wide-mouthed, large-nosed, long-headed, deep-voiced, bare-kneed, brawny-handed, hairy-legged, ruddy-faced, sinewy-armed hero. There are sentences that we remember because they are short, concise, and mysterious. Call me Ishmael. There are also sentences that we remember because reading them feels like doing a cartwheel. They're too urgent and too alive to be inhibited by analysis or literary history or even commas. There isn't a comma in that sentence. I spent the next year behind the bar working my way through Ulysses whenever there was a moment of downtime. It was loud, long, occasionally incomprehensible, and absolutely joyful to read that book. So if you're like me, you love literature, but you're being a little too precious about when you tackle James Joyce, just grab a copy of Ulysses, go to a crowded coffee shop or pub, and spend a day moving your eyes across some of the most memorable words ever put to the page. It's a day you'll remember for a long time. Thank you, Irish Arts Center. Thank you, Ishmael.